Billionaire notices the waitress hiding Bruises. What he did next shocked the entire city. Rain streaked down the city streets like a curtain of tears, and inside the dimly lit cafe on the corner, she moved with quiet grace, her hands trembling slightly as she carried steaming plates of food to waiting customers. The bruises on her wrists and cheeks were faint, but they were there, hidden beneath long sleeves and a fragile smile that barely reached her eyes. Every day she fought to pretend, to hide the pain that had become part of her existence. Life had cornered her into a small, suffocating world, and yet, despite it all, she served with a warmth that made strangers feel seen, even when she herself felt invisible. Across the room, a man sat in a shadowed booth, his sharp tailored suit and effortless air of confidence cutting through the mundane glow of the cafe. He was a billionaire used to having the world bend to his whims, accustomed to controlling empires rather than noticing the small, fleeting pains of people around him. But something about the way she moved, the way her eyes flinched every time a customer demanded more than she could give, pierced through his usual indifference. He noticed the bruises, not by accident, not as a passing observer. He noticed because he saw pain where everyone else saw only a waitress. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of one act to change everything, pause for a moment and like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Act of Kindness. The man, Alexander Morrow, watched her for weeks. Every shift, every fleeting glance he caught, every whispered exchange between her and her coworkers painted a picture of resilience under impossible circumstances. He learned her name was Eliza. He learned the way she laughed softly to herself when she thought no one was watching. He learned the way her hands shook when she carried a tray that felt heavier than life itself. The world had trained her to be invisible, and yet, in those quiet moments of vulnerability, she was profoundly human and profoundly captivating. Eliza's story was one of struggle layered upon struggle. She had escaped a home where love was a word twisted into cruelty. She had scraped through life with nothing but determination, working long shifts in coffee shops and diners, moving from one cramped apartment to another, always careful to hide the bruises, to mask the fear, to smile even when the ache in her chest felt unendurable. But the world has a way of balancing pain and hope, and sometimes that balance arrives in the most unexpected form. Alexander could not ignore the bruises any longer. One evening, when the cafe was nearly empty and the rain outside had slowed to a soft drizzle, he approached her. He did not offer pity. He did not offer charity. He offered a question that changed everything. Would she let him help her? Eliza recoiled at first, the ingrained fear of judgment and betrayal tightening in her chest. Trust was a luxury she could not afford, not with strangers and certainly not with men in power. But Alexander did not push. He only waited, giving her space to see that his presence was different. It was steady, unthreatening, anchored in care rather than curiosity. Over the following weeks, he orchestrated subtle changes. He arranged for her to have a safer apartment, one that felt like a sanctuary rather than a cage. He introduced her to counselors, to people who could help her navigate the trauma she had carried in silence. He paid off her debts, but quietly, discreetly, without a public spectacle. And slowly, painfully, the walls she had built around herself began to crack. Each act of kindness was a small rebellion against the life that had taught her to hide her pain, and with each crack, light began to seep in. Yet the city could not yet know. Alexander's help was secret, personal, deliberate. He wanted her healing to belong to her, not to headlines or social media applause. But even in secrecy, transformation is visible. Eliza started to walk with her head higher, her laughter became less guarded, and her smile no longer hid fear but hinted at the possibility of joy. She began to dream of things she had forgotten were possible: art classes, a small business, a life free from shadows. And Alexander, for the first time in years, realized that power was not in control or wealth, but in being the quiet force that allowed someone else to reclaim themselves. The turning point came on a crisp autumn evening. The cafe had closed, the streets glistening with rain-soaked reflections of neon lights. Alexander met Eliza outside, not as a savior but as a witness to her courage. He handed her a small envelope, its contents more than financial support. It contained an invitation to a new life, a job opportunity that allowed her independence, a chance to build without fear. And in that moment, the bruises she had tried to hide, the fear she had carried like a heavy coat, began to dissolve. She looked at him, and for the first time she saw someone who did not pity her but saw her entirely. Word eventually spread of Alexander Morrow's quiet intervention. The city gasped, not just at the billionaire's generosity, but at the humanity in his act. Headlines screamed about wealth and charity, but those who understood, who truly saw, recognized the deeper story. A woman who had survived and a man who had chosen to notice. It was a story of courage meeting compassion, of trauma meeting opportunity, and of one act of kindness rippling far beyond its origin. As Eliza's life transformed, so too did the world around her. She started a foundation for survivors, sharing her story, creating spaces for those who had been silenced. She became a beacon of resilience, and though she never forgot the pain she endured, she learned that love, respect, and care could exist in the world, even for someone who had once believed she was unworthy. If this story touched your heart, please show your support. Like, share, and comment. Your engagement can help more people discover that acts of kindness, no matter how small, can change lives in ways we cannot even imagine. Before you go, leave a comment sharing a moment when someone's kindness changed your life. It matters more than you know. In the end, the city did not just talk about a billionaire helping a waitress. It spoke of the quiet, invisible moments that can transform a life. It spoke of courage, of seeing someone's pain and choosing to act. And it reminded everyone that sometimes, the most shocking thing a person can do is to care deeply, truly, and unconditionally. Eliza had survived. She had risen. And the world, once indifferent, had glimpsed the extraordinary power of human kindness.